All right, my name is Kenneth Rockwell. I was drafted in 1943. I went to San Antonio, Texas for my basic training, and then wind up down in Louisiana for other training in the Railway Operating Battalion, which I was attached to. I was a lineman in that battalion for years, and we went overseas in late '43, and went up on Omaha Beach in Normandy in '44 early, and went through France and Germany, wound up in Mainz, Germany for quite some time. Mainz, Germany was quite a big village on the Mainz River, and in that village all the streets were made of blocks, square blocks, and when they bombed it, of course, they went up all over. And I was what they call a lineman. We had a crew. We rode motor cars and put out lines for telephone work along the railroads, because we worked in a railroad battalion, and sometimes the bricks from the trains would fall down and burn the cable, and then we'd have to move them or put new cable in. But I wound up in 4 different campaigns. My last one was in Battle of the Bulge. I don't know, I got some pictures of World War II where I was stationed for quite some time. And I don't know what else to say outside of I was glad to get home, that's for sure. I got home in February of 1946. I was in service for 2.5 years. And here's a picture that was taken in Mainz, Germany in 1945. I was a T5, which T5 means I was a corporal technician. That's what the T was for. And our whole outfit was all T outfit, merits or whatever you want to call them. And I have a certificate here, which a merit certificate that the outfit, the colonel gave us in 1945 for our services.
Okay, just a second. I had a pause.
That's all right.
We'll go back to explain to what the meritorious thing was. Okay?
Okay.
When we start again, when I do this, you explain what that is again.
Okay.
You're doing real fine, and then go into some of those pictures. Say, here's a picture in your scrapbook, me on the line, or whatever you were doing.
Okay.
You're doing real fine. When I do that, we're going to start.
With this merit.
Yeah, because it.
I got to look at the date on it.
Okay.
June '45.
Okay.
And it was served by a colonel.
Yeah. When I do this, you'll pick it up and say, here's a citation and what it was for, meritorious service.
All
Okay?
right.
I'm sorry about that. My hand hit
It's all right. Okay, and now this certificate was a meritorious service which was given to us from a lieutenant colonel in 1945 for meritorious service in Railroad Operating Battalion. And in our book here, as shows, I was in a line crew, and it shows us working on the top of a pole. And I got different pictures of guys in here, and in this scrapbook I got different pictures of where we were and where they bombed out. Of course, you probably can't see them too good, but there's some of them. And as we went through France and Germany, I took pictures of, I didn't label them, I just took pictures of different things that were interest to me at that time. I wound up in, the last one I wound up in was the Battle of the Bulge in Athos, Belgium, which is the start of the Black Forest, and it went into the Battle of the Bulge. And that was our last encounter that we had over there. I was discharged in February of 1946 on Valentine's Day out of Camp Upton.
What would you say is one of your most memorable moments while you were in service?
Well, one of the most memorable moments, I was in a railroad yard. We took up a caboose. There was two of us in a caboose, and we took and we lived in it. And every time we moved, they moved the caboose with a train. And of course, I rode motor cars most of the time on the railroad. And one of the moments I remember something. They bombed the yard in Mainz, Germany, the Germans did, on one end of the yard, and I never heard them. They bombed the hell out of it. And I never heard them here. Woke up in the morning, here we're on one end of the yard, and on the other end there was bombing the heck out of the yard. And that happened during the night. As I woke up in the morning, I never even know, till somebody told me about it. That's how much good I slept, because we worked all day long and we kept going all day. We rode the motor cars and laying cable along beside the tracks off the motor cars that we rode on. There were 6-cylinder motor cars, and they would go either way. We'd just throw a big lever and we either go forward or backwards. And the only place we could take them off was on a railroad crossing or a road, because they were so heavy, they're around 300 to 400 pounds with the two of us. We could lift them off the tracks as the train would go by, and that's one of the moments that I remember the most during my time over there.
Can you remember any particular happy times?
Yeah, we had a lot of happy times, especially in France. We had, and there was a lot of places in France as well as Germany that they had everything way down underneath buildings. And I wound up getting a scooter out of one of the buildings that was about 3 blocks below ground. Took and rode that son of a gun all over the place. But we had a lot of good times, a lot of bad times, as well as anybody else. And there was a few in our outfit that got killed by bombing or something occasionally. And other than that, majority of the guys that I was with came back home. We were scheduled to go to Japan, but we never got there because the war stopped before we got over there.
Did your military experience have any influence on your career in the future?
No, not really. I just came back, went right back to the telephone company once I got back in '46, and I had to work there 5 years before they bridged my time. Only worked there 41 years before they let me out.
How old were you when you went in service?
I was 19 when I went in service. I was drafted at 18, but they deferred me in March, and I didn't go in until November of 19, when I was 19 years old. 43, late 43. We went into March of 44, went into Omaha Beach in Normandy, and there was quite a few casualties on that beach at that time. And at that time I drove a half-track off from a landing craft. And just going across the channel, I was sick for three days. I laid on top of the half-track and ate crackers because I was so sick to my stomach just going across the channel. Then when I came home, I was sick for 10 days. I thought it was a canoe. It was such a small boat. I came home, it was one of the, what they call Liberty ships, Kaiser Liberty ships, and that's what I came home on. I went over on the St. Mary's with about 18 to 20,000 people, and we came home about 5 to 6,000. There was a big difference in crossing the ocean and what you cross it in.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to this?
Not that I can think of at the present time.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.